Wherever you are in the world, welcome to another edition of Jerry's Take on China. It's a sarcastic title, but it's not the first time China has been accused of hiding submarines in the sea. Where else would you hide them? However, on a more serious note, if we were to believe the UK's Daily Mail, China should be in mourning. They have lost a crew of 55 and a nuclear submarine. The Times, historically a reputable media outlet, led with the headline that China kills own sailors with a trap set for British and US submarines. But if we were to believe that, we'd also be surprised at China's lack of response. The only response they've made is to say the reports are completely false. Nothing else. Both the Mail and the Times have expressed doubts about the sources, but all stories about this submarine share one common thread. China, other than one media denial, has made no further mention of it and taken no action. Now, for people who know China, this may be normal. China's media follows certain patterns in such events. If there was truth to the story, they won't comment or speculate, but they will wait until the appropriate departments have investigated, they've analysed, and they've confirmed. Now, if there has been a naval disaster, they would also ensure that the families have been advised before making any announcements. But then there'd also be some activity. Where there is truth in such a story, Chinese media will provide details, but they'll never sensationalize this. This is due to respect for the families and the memories of those who are lost. Respect is a very important factor in Chinese culture, especially respect for those who are gone. However, that doesn't appear to be the reason why China is silent about the matter. The reason is much more simple. Newsweek ran an article which also couldn't decide if the incident had or hadn't happened. But all indicators from their sources in Taiwan are that it did not. The article focused on China's pride in their military and how such an event would dent that pride. It does, however, concede that, quote, we should not be surprised if the story proves to be accurate, end of quote. Something else, unrelated to the submarine, was significant about the Newsweek article. It was one line, using a quote from an expert. China builds ships that are of a class inappropriate to their current strategy. The significance might be lost on some readers because it appears in the middle of a segment about how China's navy is being built up. But readers who hold the view of an aggressive China might wonder why China's planners stupidly or naively don't cater for their own strategy. But then a more critical reader who understands China better would argue that China's naval build-up suits their strategy exactly. It's a strategy of naval defense, not naval attack. This expert, whatever his expertise in military or military build-up is, seems unqualified to understand that China is not and never has been interested in invading. They will, and have long said they would, protect and defend Taiwan from being taken in the manner that Hong Kong, much of Shanghai, and many other concessions and treaty ports were taken. That was a situation that existed right up to 1949. So the expansion of a defensive navy suits that purpose perfectly. Spy Talk, a Substack page managed by Jeff Stein, a former Newsweek correspondent, has a more in-depth analysis written by author and Jamestown Foundation fellow Matthew Brazil. His report seems to indicate that this is not a true story either. Brazil is critical that the location isn't known, the sources are not named, the photo of the submarine used was of a different type, and he cites an expert in submarines called Ian Ballantyne, who points out that this is not a new story. It's an old one, recycled from time to time, and that the particulars don't quite add up. The ship is supposed to have run into an old-style 1990s trap in the Yellow Sea off the coast of Shandong. Now, if China put that there, there's a fairly safe bet that their submarine commanders know where it is. Furthermore, salvage ships, special equipment, and specialized personnel would have been gathered together and headed out of port to the accident site in a very short time. The primary source of this story indicates that a salvage did happen, and it took only 6 hours. The damaged ship was recovered. Unfortunately, all souls lost. Post-mortem reports indicate that all crew on board died of hypoxia related to toxic gas, but no information was given on where the boat was taken, what methods were used to take it, how long it took. Just over 20 years ago, there was much criticism of the attempts at rescue of the Russian submarine Kursk. There was also much international news of the efforts. Surely the same would be true of a Chinese vessel, had this event actually occurred. Then satellite imagery would have been available, observers from vessels in the region, and undoubtedly the Pentagon would have information. It speaks volumes for the veracity of the story that no one observing one of the most tense regions of the world and one of the busiest shipping lanes noticed or commented on this rescue and salvage operation, let alone the complicated process of returning a damaged submarine to whichever port they were going to hide it in. Now, the simplest way to find out how stories such as this get into media is to go to primary sources, which in this case appears to be China's disgraced virologist and some say conspiracy theorist, Dr. Yan Li Meng. In her podcast America Out Loud and Twitter posts back in August, predating X, not only that, according to Australia's Courier Mail, Dr. Yan has now stated there's a survivor and has reported that Xi Jinping is furious about the entire matter. She also states she has secret information that the submarine was tracked by a bug in a crew member's smartwatch. Her sources are classically conspiratorial. Secret information from inside Zhongnanhai, exclusive but unnamed sources from the Central Military Commission in China, a leaked British intelligence assessment, and a report that no one has seen of a nuclear-powered submarine in which all personnel but one perished. This is all garnished with a tale of a bugged or hacked smartwatch capable of relaying information from the depths of the sea through the hull of a submarine? Very Bondish. All of these seem to be what Ian Ballantyne means when he says, they don't quite add up. But add to this lack of comment from the Pentagon, normally a leaky sieve, not even sources speaking under conditions of anonymity because they aren't authorized to speak. And this tells us even more. If Washington's investigative journalists can't get a whiff of a story, it's likely that there isn't really a story to sniff out. Thanks once again for watching Jerry's Take on China. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, particularly the shares. They get us out there so more people can see it. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.